That has always been a role in design, but I think it's increasingly analytics and statistics and many of the analytic tools are now the driving force in many of the design endeavors. Hence today's panel, this is the topic of today's panel. So with me on the panel today is Jeff Bean, and Gaston the Guru from Sapient, and Garrett Kepke from Modernista. So, and these are three people from three very different worlds, and I'm going to have them talk a little bit about what they think about analytics and how that is incorporated into the day-to-day work.
So acquiring, retaining customers, that sort of thing. I started as a creative, so fluffy at heart, and then had to learn a little bit about business. Grew the largest independent interactive agency that was acquired by Sapient just over 2 years ago. My friend Clement kind of brought me to the dark side, and I guess that's me, right? I don't have any fancy slides or anything. I'm announcing, I'm not giving it away. So I guess, from an analytics standpoint, I sort of sit in the middle of the road where really focus on creative, bringing, immersive brand experiences to the digital space, and kind of have a love-hate relationship with analytics. So I'm going to support some things and refute some others, and I'll turn it over to my friend Gary from Modernista.
Yes.
Go, Clement.
Want to go first? Anything to say about me, Clement?
Oh yeah, all right. Well, let's see, Gary. We sort of brought Gary along, and I think more than anything else, Gary is a respected international, well-known creative director, and his background is probably reflective of how many of you in this audience is. He was at one point the founding creative director of Vibe magazine, and got into the advertising business 10 years ago. Is that good?
Well, 2000 we started Modernista.
Yeah. And Chip is just screwing around. So he's
just to show how that somebody, and they can switch back and forth whenever they want, and we have to continuously make that pitch that our search is better than their search continuously.
Yeah, see, I disagree. I disagree because I think that if you use Google or you use Yahoo or whatever, a lot of it has to. It's what does it say about me that I use Google? Like, I'm not going to hang out with a Yahoo person. Right? I mean, you understand what I'm saying? I think there's still an emotional component to these things, and I think that if it's only about interface, if it's only about just one dimension, then everything gets commoditized, right? I think you look at Hertz Rent-A-Car versus Avis. We Try Harder. These guys invested hundreds of millions of dollars to be the #1 brand, but the way that manifests itself in today's world is a picture and a price in Expedia. Right, so that brand no longer, means anything. And if you just optimize to a picture and a price, then that brand, all the equity in that brand. Why would you pay $2 extra to go on Hertz versus Avis? Where does loyalty go? Where does any of these things? You still have to figure out a way to inject an emotional component in anything and everything that you design, because it's not remarkable. It's not worth making a remark about. So if you just optimize to the least common denominator, then there's nothing left.
Well, perhaps, I agree, the emotional component of design is incredibly important, but perhaps on the web, the quality of the service is much more transparent early on. I can't tell you the difference between Hertz and Avis until I rent a car from both and go, man, Hertz was way better, I'm going to stick with them, because it is pretty commodified at that level. But on the web, I think you instantly have that experience and make that decision and change that decision perpetually. And that's the kind of thing we're trying to sort of optimize for using all the tools.
So could we back up a little bit, because I think we had just notice that there are, and as I said, well, there are different sets of analytics that you're looking at, and different understanding of analytics is. Maybe it's time to sort of, from each one of you, talk about, what kind of analytics, and the metrics and the measurements of analytics that you really care about. So that out of that, maybe we have a better understanding of how you view analytics. So let's start with Gary on the other side.
Well, all right, so I'm going to use Cadillac as an example because the average age of a Cadillac user 2 years ago was 72 years old. And our job was, and one, they created a new product, a new CTS, and they have the Escalade, of course, but the CTS is the high volume car that they spent $6 billion creating. And once they created that car, they said, well, what's Cadillac and who is Cadillac? So what we do is we go out and we talk to people, like, and find